Hello, welcome to the program. Tensions are growing between Russia and the US after the latest gas attack in Syria. Between strong statements on Twitter by President Trump and warlike accents from the Russia side, how will the Syrian conflict influence global politics? Joining us in our studio for an overview on the matter is Vitalii Vlasiuk, political expert. Thank you for joining us.
Hi.
So first, today President Trump threatened Russia with a potential missile strike after Syria's new gas attack. On the other side, Russia threatened to put down any kind of US missile. Will Syria become the theater of a new full-scale US-Russia confrontation?
I hope the full-scale conflict between Russia and the US will never happen. Direct conflict, at least, because the history shows us many examples of indirect conflicts, like in Vietnam or like in Korea. Still, Syria is now an object, and I'm not sure Assad likes it.
So you quoted Vietnam and Korea. That's an interesting matter. By quoting Vietnam, you directly link it to Cold War. Is it at least a new step in this new Cold War in between US and Russia?
For my standing, it is somehow it's not the same Cold War as it was, but we can obviously see many things that separate Russia from Western countries for now, and still there is no Iron Curtain like it was before. But yes, I think we can call it like a Cold War.
So you're saying there's a serious form of a gap between Russia and the West created
too wide gap.
So yeah, between the economic plunge and so tensions in Syria, Russia seems to be cornered on a geopolitical way, as you said. What could be Russia's potential reaction now?
Just like in case of in Skripal case, Russia has only two options, for my opinion. First option is to calm it down, to say some right words like, okay, we are sorry, we are very sorry, we didn't mean that. And I think Western countries will give an opportunity to Mr. Putin to get his face normal. Other opportunity which they are currently being chosen is aggressive option, and this option means to make tensions even deeper.
So, from your point of view, you're saying that Russia could choose the aggressive option over the quieter and calm it down. So now, how do you explain Trump's sudden strong stance over Russia, as during the campaign in 2016, he praised Vladimir Putin, saying he was a strong man, a strong leader. How do you explain this turning on Vladimir Putin now?
I think for now Trump is not a private person like he was before. He'd been elected like a president of the United States. The most powerful state in the modern world. So nowadays he acts like a president of a powerful state. Obviously, his position has been changed, and for now his attitude to Mr. Putin is based on the relations between US and between Russia, and he's just serving his state. So
that's for Mr. Trump's side, and also German Chancellor Angela Merkel reacted today about this whole situation, because UN resolution hasn't been voted about this Syria situation, and she regrets and quote condemns the attack. But what, except condemning, what more can UN do about it? What is the leverage? What are the leverage of the West in this situation?
West actually has no leverage in this situation, just because Russia is one of the 5 permanent members of the Security Council, so it could possibly just put a veto.
Like like
the USSR always did, and like Russia almost always did previously, except for the case of Libya, that was a kind of very interesting situation when Russia did not veto the UN Security Council resolution to act on the so-called concept of responsibility to protect and to use force against Gaddafi's regime. In the case of Assad, they will. I do not believe Russia will grant such a resolution with authorization. So they stand for Assad, and they will do it like to the end, I guess.
So you don't see in any case scenario, you don't see President Putin letting down Bashar al-Assad really time soon.
Obviously, he could do it. He can do it at any stage of the conflict, and for me that would be the smartest option. But still, it's his own decision. You never know what's on his mind. And to back to your question on the options of the Security Council, there is no options. Under the current legislation, I mean under the current UN statute, UN Security Council cannot jump over its head.
Now, I want to focus on the West a little bit to conclude this interview. It is not the first time that the Syrian regime Bashar al-Assad's regime is using gas against its population.
That presumption.
Allegedly. Yeah. How do you explain this sudden waking up from the West? Because the West didn't react like that before.
Still, the most powerful nation is America. And the President of the United States has been re-elected. From Mr. Obama to Mr. Trump. Mr. Trump reflects new attitudes, new approaches to such conflicts. Though we have what we have, but on the other side, Russia has become more provocative in its behavior in its international affairs. That's that's just factor number two.
And would you say that the fact that Mr. Putin has been re-elected and the idea of this strong man plays in the favor of being provocative towards the West? Do you think it has? Would you say it has an influence on its relations?
I think it has. I think it has, because even in non-democratic states like Russia is, still Mr. Putin or those who hold the power, they need some support, some internal support, because formally it's a democracy. So they still need to run some elections, some election campaigns, and they still need to have some to tell the people, just look at us, we are so cool.
Well, thank you for this overview. It was a pleasure to have you in the studio. That was Vitalii Vlasiuk, political expert. Thank you for watching the program. Stay tuned for the rest.